podcast time.
All right. It's Sunday night. It's the Gentleman and the Jerk. Hi, I'm Chris. This guy I always screw this up, man. This guy right here is Mark. Mark, how you doing? We got any audio problems today, Mark?
I'm doing very, very well, but you got to give me one moment. I screwed it up this time.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my gosh.
God.
I can't
Here we
believe
go.
I did that.
What did you screw up?
Oh, boy.
What did
There
you
we
screw
go.
up? What did you do?
I left my Google Chrome audio on.
Oh, yeah, but I didn't hear any audio problems.
Oh,
we'll let
I
we'll
heard
let our
it in
viewers.
I heard it in my soul.
Oh, my God. It's always a failure. Why does everything fail with you, Mark? At least
you said it was you.
At least we got our episode going.
Yes, we do.
What did you were going to say something? What were you going to say, my friend?
About what?
About being sober? Are you sober?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
For those of you that may have watched, perfect audio. Thank you, Brandy. For those of you that may have watched last week's episode, Mark was an utter shit show, and tonight he is not. He's doing much better.
And you loved it, is what I heard.
Did. I have gone back and watched it 0 times.
Have you?
Yeah, 0 times.
It's your favorite.
I will say though, we got through it all right. I didn't get angry with you. I didn't want to kill you or anything to that effect. So
I was hoping you would.
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance, go back and watch last week's episode when Mark was like 8 rum and cokes in when we started the episode, and he did not fare so well.
Pretty sure it was rum and coke.
How was your week, Ben, Mark?
Oh, it was great. I actually did something this week. I bought an arrow garden. You ever heard of that?
Yeah. You made a brief mention of it before we went on the air. Tell me about an arrow garden. What is that?
So it's a indoor hydroponics garden to grow vegetables, not the kind of hydroponics you're thinking of. Vegetables. I got some herbs in there. I got some oregano and basil, and yeah. So it sprouted a little bit of seed today, so I'm very excited. So we'll see how it goes.
It's one of these. I'm actually showing it on the screen right now. There's an arrow garden, the Harvest Elite Slim 6 pod.
I got the Bounty 9 pod. I got it on the Arrow Garden website, 20% off in the summer sale. Plug in.
Oh my Lord! Look at you turning into something, man. I don't even know what to call that.
I know, amazing, or a shill, or whatever. There's lots of words.
I bought a Soda Stream today, so we also made. You called it our as seen on TV purchases. So yes, I bought a Soda Stream. It was interesting though. I bought it from Target. I stopped. Okay, that's good to know. I stopped it at Target today and purchased it up. I've been thinking about buying it for the better part of 3 or 4 weeks, maybe even longer. And went in there and I'm checking out. The woman was so pleasant, and she goes, "Just so you know, we have none of the refill cartridges for the CO2 in stock. Normally you can trade them in for a discount here at the store, but we don't have any. We can't, since COVID started, we can't get any in stock." I'm like, "Oh, that's good to know." So I got to be sparing with my CO2. Or I'll have to take it somewhere and get it professionally refilled.
Oh, I have a place like that called Kent Ox. They're right down the street from me. So we have a few different canisters we bought many, many years ago with our Soda Stream, and I just take it down there. It's a hell of a lot cheaper. So definitely find a place that does.
Yeah, there's places that refill them here.
Oh,
there's a paintball gun place that refills CO2 cartridges too. So
anybody who does welding equipment, they're going to be the cheapest. So
okay. Good to know. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So
anyway, of knowledge.
No, not really. But good day, good week. Geez, what else did I do? I cooked. I made some more sourdough bread like I normally do on the weekend. So, I had to, going back to the initial topic of this show, I had to de-stress on my day yesterday. So I went and spent $200 at the grocery store, and you should see the refrigerator after I made chili, and I made bread, and I made hamburger buns, and I made you name it. I probably even made cheese, but I don't remember that. So,
very nice.
Lots of stuff. So, what did you cook? Some trail mix?
Well, I just ate a bunch of trail mix before we went on the air. Because my plan is to go for a bike ride after we're done in the dark because I'm a crazy man. But I have actually not been cooking very much. I've been really busy with the new office, going back and forth, and my hours have been a little bit longer recently. So a lot of some takeout, some very simple meals. I did make some ribeyes with some scallops the other day that were pretty killer. But my big thing this week I made a whole bunch of smoothies, a lot of blueberry and strawberry smoothies, and Jessica's been she's been having some peanut butter and chocolate smoothies. So we have fattening ourselves up that way.
That doesn't sound
nothing
bad.
like drinking straight calories. It's quite something. And probably knocked down about 6 bottles of wine this week too.
Oh, that's it? I thought it would be more. Or was that just you? I thought it would be like both of you.
No, it's been a light week. We tried to tell ourselves let's only drink socially. So now whenever we start talking, that's social. So
half a case of wine is a short week.
Yeah, it's a short week.
That's slow.
So,
yeah.
Speaking of wine and the purpose of our conversation tonight, I was actually drinking some
Yes.
wine and watching a movie the other night when my son texted me late at night, probably close to 10:30 or so Eastern time, and informed me that Chadwick Boseman, the actor who plays Black Panther among other roles, he played Jackie Robinson as well in a biopic.
Marshall, Thurgood Marshall.
Yep, he passed away from cancer the other night, just 43 years old. And what were you doing when you found out? Because I texted you briefly after, but what were you doing when you found out?
I actually saw my niece post about it. All these young people getting all this information much quicker than us oldies. So, that's I don't know how to feel about that. But I saw my niece post about it, and then immediately after I saw that, you text. I was like, oh, that's not good. So I just 43 years old. I mean, that's the first thing I thought is, holy shit. I'm gonna swear now. Holy shit. That's like, and to keep it so under wraps for that long was, I know that was his goal, and that's, I mean, totally respectable and probably what I would do in that situation as well. I mean, I was reading from Ryan Coogler, the director of Black Panther today. He posted, he had no idea. And he was his director in that movie. He had no idea.
I don't know how that's possible. I really don't. Now so you may recall a few months ago there were some pictures of Chadwick Boseman that popped up online. He was either leaving his home or leaving a store, and he somebody had snapped a picture of him. There was a selfie that he had taken where he looked incredibly gaunt and thin. In hindsight, very reminiscent of Steve Jobs in the last months of his life. And there was accusations made publicly that maybe he was on drugs, maybe that he couldn't maintain his body mass that he had gained from filming the movies. All these different, was he a meth head? All these different weird accusations from bloggers online. And in retrospect, it's tragic. It's horrible. Those people that posted those stories, posted those images, I'm sure feel terrible now. But nobody was talking cancer. The story, nobody ever said, some people said, oh, maybe he's sick, but nobody said he's got cancer. This blindsided everybody.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It just pops up that he's gone, and it's like, holy, and the scary part is it wasn't even like he was diagnosed a few months ago as stage 4 already, and there was not a darn thing they could do about it. It was stage 3 cancer. He had treatment options, and I'm sure he went through with those treatment options, but it still didn't matter. And that's the scary part. He had 4 years to fight it, and a healthy 40-something man couldn't overcome it. And it's pretty sad and pretty horrible.
And much like Steve Jobs, it's also an indication that no level of power, access to money is going to buy you your health when you have cancer. If cancer is going to take you, cancer is going to take you. Now, colon cancer is not the easiest of cancers to deal with, but it's also not the most dangerous of cancers to deal with.
If you catch it early, it's not.
Yeah. So that becomes the question. At 43 years old, although he would have been 39 or approximately 39, 40 when he was diagnosed, how late stage could that have been? Did he catch it at stage 3? Did he catch it at stage 1? We don't know these answers yet. We may never know these answers. Everybody is entitled to their privacy, especially considering their health when it comes to their health. But it's an interesting question to ask. Had he decided on nothing but holistic treatments? Had he avoided chemotherapy? Those kind of questions. I'd be interested to hear, how he got to where he got and how it killed him. In that way, because there are plenty of men that get colon cancer, plenty of men that get prostate cancer, and they often go one and the same that have long, healthy lives post treatment.
Sure.
So it'd be interesting to find out.
My grandfather, my dad have had issues, with that. And my grandfather lived to 93. My dad will be 74 this year, and no long-term health difficulties in that regard. But man, just to see a man in his prime, terrible. Anyway,
So the thing with Chadwick Boseman is he's not just Angela says he was diagnosed at stage 3. Okay, so it would have been fairly well advanced at the point that happened. So now we're not talking about an everyday actor here. We're not talking about a guy down the street. This is Chadwick Boseman. Certainly not a Leonardo DiCaprio. This is not a world-class, historic lifetime kind of actor. He certainly is an accomplished actor.
He's an A-lister he's a high up A-lister at this point. No question about it. You're right. He's not, it doesn't matter at that point, but
my point being is
best, but he's
right. My point being is
wonderful.
That he played, the reason why I bring that up is because while he's not an Oscar winner and going to go down in the annals of time as the most influential actor, he played a singular role that will perhaps be one of the most influential roles for a man of black skin to have played in the titular role of Black Panther, because that movie was the first one to really break down some barriers in Hollywood that had been long-standing. It was a movie that was made primarily with black people for a broad audience. It was not blaxploitation. It was not made just for black people. It was made for a broad audience, predominantly white audience that still showed up to the theaters. And he played the title role of a comic book character that was often a background character, never a main A-list superhero. Much like Iron Man wasn't and Thor wasn't until they hit the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So he stepped right into that role, and he united an entire population of black and brown-skinned Americans and people worldwide to say, we're here. We have a movie that is about our people. It's about our heritage. It's about our culture. Oh, hey, and we're superheroes, and we're not being made fun of, and we're not being. It's not a comic, comical display of our culture and all that kind of stuff. So amazing that he played that role.
Well, and when you look back at his movie choices, he played Thurgood Marshall, he played Jackie Robinson. It was ultimately it was a casting director and the director's decision to cast him in those roles, but the fact that he wanted to go after those roles of powerful black men that bucked the system at the time. It's pretty remarkable that his career included those people, and that, and then it goes on to Black Panther. That's pretty amazing. And think about what could have been going forward, with making that franchise. Black Panther still is the highest grossing Marvel movie that's not an Avengers movie. That's what's
Correct.
Amazing about it. Outgrossed everything. And it deserved it. It was a wonderful movie. It received. How many times did people go back to see that movie? That was Oscar
nominated. The movie, it was an Oscar nominated movie. Yep,
absolutely. And it had the Titanic effect, where people were going back week after week after week to see that movie in the movie theater. That's the amazing part about it. It just had legs. It didn't start out, with Endgame with the highest gross of all time. It grossed very well in the beginning, but it just kept growing and growing. It was a movement. It was a revolution in the movie industry. It really was.
Well, I will always remember, because I've told this story a number of times, going to the premiere night of that movie. Now, I saw it on a Thursday night. It came out on Friday. I saw it on Thursday night. And I saw it at Movie Tavern, which is a franchise of movie theaters, which you sit and they come in, they take your order, and you get to eat at a table right at your seat. It's not the greatest film and sound quality, but it was the only seats that I could get. Everything else was sold out. And I recall watching people come in, black and brown skinned people come into the theater, and they were dressed like they were going to church. And there was a community aspect that caught me off guard, and the cheers and the joy that you could hear in those people during and after that movie was exceptional. I mean, it blew my mind away to be a part of that experience and to witness how they experienced the movie as well. And, you know, I didn't go into the Black Panther movie with any real expectations other than it's a MCU movie. It's a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. I know the quality is going to be fantastic. I mean, really, the only movie that's ever been a real letdown is Iron Man 3. So I knew it was going to be a good film, and it was an amazing film. And it was amazing because of him and also... you know, he wasn't the only person. There were several actors in that movie.
Michael B. Jordan.
B. Jordan, who I was going to mention next.
Yeah. Martin Freeman. I mean,
Martin Freeman's also amazing.
Also awesome. I mean, it was
Totem
a great
white man. Token white man.
Angelica
in that movie.
Houston. I mean, gosh. I mean, you got so many different names, and it was a wonderful, wonderful movie. So I also went to the movie opening night. This is what I came home with: a little coin. Hopefully, anybody can see it, but it's a little Black Panther coin. 2018. I actually got two of them. I gave one to Rashawn, so he has one of these in his Black Panther collection at work.
Nice.
But I got this, and it was an opening night fan event at the Century Theaters. Got a popcorn bucket, which is around here somewhere. You can't see it, sorry, but yeah, I mean, it was a great experience, and it was the same. I had the same general feeling when I walked into that theater. It was there. I go to movies all the time, and, you know, I mean, there's summers we see 20, 30 movies in a summer, and it felt like an event for people. And it was this exciting, somebody took their culture and turned it into a superhero movie. And I mean, it felt different than any of the other movies in that regard, you know, and I think, I hope they continue the franchise. I mean, it's way too early to think about that. You know, we got other things to worry about, but, you know, it just needs to continue because it's and I think he would want it to continue as well.
Of course he would. And actually I wanted to talk about that because I don't think it is too soon to ask that question. I mean, that's what, you know, commentary, especially online commentary, is all about. What do you think could happen? What direction do you think we could go with this? I mean, I've got my thoughts, but I'd be interested in hearing yours.
Well, why don't you start? Because I have an idea. What do you think?
Well, okay. So I have a most likely scenario, and I have a otherworldly scenario. I would make now. You started out talking about how Ryan Coogler said that he had no idea. And Ryan Coogler perhaps did not, but I do not think for a second that Kevin Feige did not know about this. And the reason why I do not think for a second that Kevin Feige did not know about this is because when you were talking about a multi-billion-dollar franchise, if there is a picture of one of your actors that posts online that looks the way he looked in those images a few months ago, you're going to ask questions. And you're going to demand answers because he's sitting on $1 billion franchise. The next Black Panther movie is going to make $1 billion. I think they're all over him. What's going on? Are you sick? Is there something you're not telling us? Or even at that point, did he already inform them anyway? I can't imagine that he was literally holed up in his house keeping the secret for that long. I can imagine a lot of people didn't know, but Kevin Feige had to have known.
I don't know. I mean, and you know, to be fair, I don't think it really matters. You know, when it comes down to it.
No, here's why I think it matters. Well, here's why I think it matters. And actually, this idea came from my son. We were discussing this yesterday. What if he signed off, knowing he was sick, knowing he's done all of these movies, including 13 Bridges and all this other stuff that he's done in the meantime? What if he was in conjunction with Kevin Feige and said, I'm going to film some scenes, at least some audio. I'm going to film some scenes for the next movie. We know what Black Panther 2 is going to be. We've got Ryan Coogler signed on, or at least he was trying to sign him on. They hadn't signed him yet at that point because he only finally signed on, I think, 3 or 4 months ago. But they knew they were going to get him, or they were going to get somebody. They probably already knew the storyline they were going to do. And what if, knowing he was sick, knowing it was going to take a turn for the worst, or maybe had taken a turn for the worst, just recorded even the audio and some motion capture so they could digitize him to do a storyline with his blessing in which Storm comes in to assist, because the storm is supposed to be coming in with Black Panther 2. Storm comes in to assist Shuri in becoming the next Black Panther.
I don't see that as being far-fetched, but I'm going to believe Ryan Coogler. I mean, he was the closest to the situation. I think while Kevin Feige is hands-on when it comes to the overall Marvel universe, I do believe he gives his directors some leeway. I mean, why would you think you'd see so many different tones in the movies to handle their actors and everything? So while he's there to keep it all heading in the same direction, and he's done a wonderful job with that. I think at this point, there's so many moving pieces with the cinematic universe. I mean, he can't be there all the time. And yes, I get it that, Chadwick Boseman was one of his, going forward, top 2 actors in the franchise. But on the other hand, you're a 43-year-old man a healthy 43-year-old man, 42-year-old man, 41-year-old man. As shocked as the rest of the world was that he had cancer, I think it's possible that he just didn't say anything, and I think that's okay. I mean, I think that's completely fine. I do. Okay. And that's what I believe. I think I don't think he said anything.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't. Listen, I would. This is one of those things we can agree to disagree. We're not talking about racism here or Trump. We can agree to disagree on this one. As far as Kevin Feige being hands-on but not micromanaging, I politely disagree. He's got a long history of micromanaging every aspect of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And you got to keep in mind, too, Chadwick Boseman did a movie with the Russo brothers, who are very close with Kevin Feige. And he would have been pretty sick during that movie. They just finished filming that, maybe 14 months ago? And
you know what, though, with cancers like that, people can take a turn for the worse very, very quickly. Sure. It's not something where you could, especially a person that's healthy. If you're sick and then you get sicker, of course you're going to look, things are going to get worse. But it could have been a switch that flipped that fast. Let's be honest, Chris. Somebody walks up to you and tells you you've got cancer. Is the first thing in your mind going to be, well, it's stage 3 cancer, I'm dead next week? What's the first thing you're going to think? You're going to think you're going to fight it. You're going to go for whatever you need to do to save yourself.
No, I 100% agree.
I would personally be in denial until the day I was gone. That's just the way I would be, and I probably wouldn't say a damn thing anyway.
Maybe. Let me throw this scenario at you. Let's say, for example, let's try to put yourself in Chadwick Boseman's mind. Let's say you're Chadwick Boseman, and let's rewind 6 months ago. 6 months ago. Maybe very beginning of COVID, before everything started shutting down, and they had just announced, because it was really right at the beginning of COVID, that they announced that they had signed Ryan Coogler. They just signed Ryan Coogler. Everybody's celebrating that they're going to make this Black Panther 2 movie. It's going to come out in 2022. Everybody's excited, or 2023, whatever it is. Everybody's excited about it. Chadwick Boseman knows he's sick. 6 months ago, I don't care. It turned for a worse overnight. 6 months ago, he knows how sick he is. He knows at that point in time, there is a chance this is getting worse. I'm not responding to treatment. Don't you think, if you were Ryan Coogler, if you were Chadwick Boseman, don't you think you would be worried about the legacy of the most important character you've played for the Black and brown community? Because he took on that role. He wore that mantle with pride. He's spoken a number of times about how he feels being the champion of his culture. I can't imagine that he would have just kept it quiet and not at least reached out to Kevin Feige and said, just so you know, this may go bad. I just want to make sure that we have a future for this character. I have to imagine that he had some pride in that.
I get the whole premise of having pride in that, but that would not be the first thing on my mind, even if I was a highly
It's not the first thing.
Actor.
He's had cancer for 3 years. It would not be the first thing.
No. Okay, so it's getting worse. The first thing in my mind would be, how do I make it better? There are treatments even to. Look at Alex Trebek. He's been going on a with pancreatic cancer for a few years now, and he's been really sick. And he just he made everybody aware of what's going on, from the beginning. But on the other hand, it's like maybe Alex cares about his legacy. Maybe, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I would care so much about that, Chris. That may not be the most important thing to me at that point in time. The most important thing to me would be making sure I'm healthy, making sure that I can continue. I don't know. The other thing too is, okay, put yourself in his shoes. What if you do go out there and tell your boss? He's just boss. What if you do go out there and tell your boss, "Hey, I'm sick"? What maybe you're thinking in your head is, well, if I tell him I'm sick, maybe he's just going to immediately replace me. You know, it's possible. Or he changes the whole shift, and he
much to your disdain, I just finished Bob Iger's book. Actually, I've already read another book since then, but I did read Bob Iger's book. And in Bob Iger's book, during the Pixar acquisition chapters of the book, he talks about how Steve Jobs sat him down the day they were announcing the merger, or purchase. The day they were announcing the purchase, Steve Jobs sat Bob Iger onto a bench and told him, "Before you announce this, I need to make sure you know I'm going to die. I've got cancer. It's not getting better. And this could ruin everything. I want to make sure you know about it. However, you can't go public with it." He goes, "You can back out of the deal, but you can't go public." And he gave Bob Iger that choice. Now, Bob Iger brought that up in that book, I believe, for a reason, because he also talked about the impact of Chadwick Boseman, the impact of Black Panther, and how pivotal that franchise is for Disney going forward, and for making movies that are culturally significant in that way. So all of those arcs, the importance of Black Panther, Steve Jobs' cancer, the disclosure or lack thereof, all of that was in this book. I have to believe somehow anywhere from Kevin Feige to Bob Iger, or both, would have known about Chadwick Boseman's cancer, even though the rest of the world didn't. I have to imagine that, being as important as that role was to both Chadwick Boseman and the community, that he would have told somebody. I cannot imagine for a second that nobody in Disney or in Marvel knew about it. I just have a hard time believing it. That's all.
Well, and I guess we'll find that out. I'm sure eventually that information will come out, and I just know in my head what I would do, and I'm not a transcendent actor by any means.
You are transcendent to me, Mark.
I was last week. I was pretty transcendent last week. But I wouldn't. I don't know. I feel differently about it. I guess I don't. I guess I'm. Maybe I'm looking out for number one too much. I guess maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
So what do you think the Black Panther franchise does from here?
I still think it's a little too soon to even think about it, because I still haven't even processed most of what's going on. I hope they keep it in the family. I hope they keep those ties. I hope it's a tribute to him more than anything. I think that would be, a transition piece of some kind, but it needs to be a tribute to him. I think that's probably the most important part.
Okay, so there's a couple of different directions that they could go if they don't go the Shuri way. There's plenty of history of different Black Panther characters over the years, including oh man, I'm having a blank right now. You got to help me out here. The king of the mountain tribe. What was his name?
I know what you're talking about. I know.
Oh, I got to think about it for a second. Oh my god, I feel like an asshole right now. Anyway,
the big dude.
Yeah, the big dude. Yeah. He's got a very ethnically inappropriate name in the comic books, but I can't remember what his name in the movie was right now. But anyway,
and I watched that last night.
Yeah, he has been Black Panther. Of course, Shuri has been Black Panther. Killmonger was Black Panther.
Well, that horse is gone.
Has it? What happens during Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness if they are combining the universes and he meets up with a Black Panther from an alternate universe that just happens to be Killmonger?
Did you ever watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Of course.
Maybe he went to Tahiti,
yeah.
Remember that?
Got his brain fixed.
That was a terrible terrible.
It really was. Yeah, don't get me started on that show.
Yeah,
I mean, I enjoyed it for a number of seasons, but it certainly had its ups and downs. It actually just finally concluded, right? Or
I think it's pretty close. Season 7, I think, is almost over. I think it was over this summer.
They're doing the Agents of Sword now.
August 12th was it.
Was that was the end? Okay. Beautiful.
Yep. What was his name? Perlmutter, the guy who was in charge, and then
Ike Perlmutter.
And then Jed what the hell is his name? He just got accused of some pretty bad shit. So he's done. The head of Marvel TV. What was his name?
Oh, there was a couple different people. I forgot.
Marvel. Now the head of the Jeff Loeb. Yeah.
Jeff Loeb, right?
I think he just had some controversy going on right now. So
yeah, well, Kevin Feige did not like him one bit. So Jeannie says just use cutting room footage and CGI to keep him around forever. Jeannie, I don't think you were on yet when I had said what my idea was. I actually believe that if Chadwick Boseman had foresight, knowing what direction this was going, he could have very easily reached out to the powers that be and had recorded footage. Maybe not live footage, but definitely motion capture. Certainly we've seen in Star Wars how far you can get with the hologram version of somebody. I will say this, too, given that it's been controversial, specifically even for Disney when talking about the Carrie Fisher stuff. What if Chadwick Boseman actually recorded a thing, like an introduction, and said, hey, this has been done with my blessing. I wanted to make sure this character was able to live on long enough to hand the mantle to somebody else. Please enjoy the CGI version of me with audio I recorded. He could very easily do that, knowing full well that the detrimental effect his passing has on the franchise. And Black Panther is incredibly important because it's really one of the few A-list comic book heroes, superheroes that are African American, or not. He's not even African American. He's actually African, but a black and brown skin. Very, very, very important character to have in the franchise. You don't want to lose that. It's easily done with Shuri. However, they've kind of leaked out that Ironheart, which is Tony Stark's replacement for Iron Man, may be in the works, who is also a black woman coming up into that role, as well as some of the ones that have been in the Netflix series. I mean, there are other African American and African characters out there, but losing Black Panther would be a huge hit to the cinematic universe, and I have to imagine that there would have been some smarter choices.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. I was actually just while you're talking there, and I was tuning you out, not really, but I was looking at grosses. Do you realize $700 million in domestic gross for that movie?
That's huge.
Huge. Number 6 was Iron Man 3 at 409. So that tells you how huge this franchise was and still is to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, it's a massive portion of it. And in a lot of ways, if you look back and actually go and watch the movies, that was kind of the moment that, yes, things were massive before. You had Ultron, the Avengers was this huge movie, but they were still comic book movies. They were comic book movies. That movie came out. They became instantly, the whole franchise became part of the culture. And I think I think that is, granted, it was already the biggest thing in comic books. It was already the biggest thing in movie theaters at that point. Nobody's going to argue that when you look at the numbers. But that was the point. It became 100% mainstream. And before that, it wasn't. I mean, you go back and look and you realize it was only 2018. And it was what made, and it's what made Marvel Cinematic Universe cool. I mean, if you look at it, that's the point it happened. That's pretty awesome.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's a legacy. I mean, that's a hell of a legacy.
Well, and to go along with what you're saying, that was the first movie, I think, when there were people that normally would never watch a Marvel movie suddenly were like, I have to go see this film. Like you brought up the Titanic effect, where it was growing in domestic sales over time, and not, it wasn't meteoric. It was, sorry about hitting the mic. It was a slow climb that occurred, and that was that's because of the fact that it made this culturally unique, indelible mark on society, and part of the reason why part of the reason why they can't let this go. And also, if you remember the effect, anytime there's been an actor, a prominent actor that's passed away, that is part of a franchise like that, the follow-up movies are always, if nothing else, for morbid curiosity, are always closely watched. Whether it's the the Fast and the Furious franchise, the Crow franchise, it's happened quite a few times in cinematic history. So this is one of those situations where I think you're gonna see some smart plays. Kevin Feige has not made a stupid decision yet. I can't imagine now is when he's gonna start. So.
Oh, and I do believe that they're going to keep the franchises alive. I don't think they have. I know you think they have a plan in place already. I don't think they do. I don't.
Okay. Well,
that's
time's
okay.
going to tell.
I
mean, the good news is we're years away from it. I mean, Chadwick Boseman's passing, while tragic right now, is going to be a footnote even just 3 years from now. And I don't mean that he's not going to matter. I'm just saying that, like I talk about Carrie Fisher, passing away in between movies, and it's sad still to this day, but it doesn't have that visceral impact on you forever. Just like, whether you lose a loved one or you lose an actor, it's one of those things. The sting only lasts so long, and at some point things have to move on. Life has to move on. Movies have to move on. But Black Panther is just far too large of a franchise, far too large of an intellectual property, for them to just shelve it. They can't do that.
Okay, so let's talk about this just as a 40-something man sitting here talking and seeing another 40-something man pass away from cancer, who 2 days ago seemed like one of the healthiest, most successful people in the world. I mean, let's move away from the franchise and everything that's happening there, and just it stings and is much more shocking to me than, say, even Carrie Fisher passing away, because it hits a hell of a lot closer to home. This is, I mean, that's for me, it was a stunner, and I'm sure it was for you as well. You look at it and you think, man, oh man, just, I mean, that's it. I lost my words there.
He's younger than me. He's younger than me. He's younger than you, for sure. A lot younger than you.
No, and, not really.
But he
close.
I mean, cancer is one of those things. It's one of the universal attackers. Nobody's immune from it. Nobody's necessarily safe. It catches you by surprise. You literally can be as healthy as you can be and still end up with cancer. I will say that proper diet, proper lifestyle can definitely improve your chances of that. A lot of that has to do with DNA and RNA health, telomere length. These are the things that help mutations from occurring. Yeah, and you can do a lot to improve telomere length and maintain that. Obviously, heavy smoking, drug use is going to shorten those telomeres and make you more likely for cancer. Being around other kinds of environmental carcinogens. Colon cancer is one of those ones that, that really, anywhere where there's tissues like esophageal, lung, heart, colon, of course, in this case, brain, where tissue is constantly recycled, much higher chance. A lot of colon, a lot of prostate cancers can actually pop up and resolve themselves. So it's hard when it advances quickly like that. Colon cancer, kind of like pancreatic cancer, can catch you off guard and you could be dead real quick. So the fact that he got 3 years, I still, while it's none of my business, I would still love to know how he was treating it. He had pictures he posted online just a few months ago. He still had a full head of hair, still had a beard. So he was obviously not doing chemo because he would have had hair loss. So what was he doing? Was he doing radiation treatments? And even then, you probably are going to have some hair loss. He definitely was skinny as hell, which means that he wasn't digesting properly. So obviously it most likely tracked up into his intestines and his whole GI was affected. So it's sad, but what was he doing? Was he treating it in a more allopathic modern medicine way, or was he, treating it in a more holistic or essential oily kind of way,
Well, and sometimes I'll go back to what you said about, sometimes some of those things don't matter. Sometimes, I'm going to take a simpler approach with it. I'm not a doctor. I am not in any medical field of any kind. I fix your cars. That's it. Sometimes shit just happens, man. You know what? Let's keep it simple. You know, I've seen people, you know, in their 50s just drop dead from a heart attack. Why the fuck did that happen? Who the fuck knows? You know, now I'm swearing. But you know, shit just happens, you know, and maybe I mean, he looked like the epitome of health. You know, when you watch these movies, guy's ripped, you know, got every advantage going for him in that regard, and it still gets him, and that's just totally sad and horrible. And you know, I think that's really what it comes down to. You know, whatever he did, whatever he didn't do, it's still a loss of a very talented person and man and husband. And you know, he'll be greatly missed. Greatly missed.
For sure. Yep, absolutely. And he left an indelible mark on cinema.
Absolutely.
You know, with a number of roles. Again, not just the Black Panther role, but you know, Jackie Robinson and Thurgood Marshall and
oh my gosh, he did a hell of a job picking his roles as well. You know, and I know in some circles, as far as, you know, actors are concerned, they say the role picks them. You know, I've read interviews with him, and he went for it. I mean, when he wanted to be Black Panther, he wanted to be Black Panther. You know, he went for that role, and he got it. I mean, and I don't know if you've read about Michael B. Jordan. He also wanted to be Black Panther. Yep. And you know, I think Kevin Feige, as far as casting is concerned, did a perfect job casting that movie. And you know, it's amazing to see someone go for what they want, what their dreams are, as hard as he did. It's inspirational.
Yeah. And I remember Robert Downey Jr. Talking about the first time that he worked alongside Chadwick Boseman. That was during Civil War, and him saying that you never would have known this guy was not afraid of what he was doing. He totally belonged there.
Went for it.
Had all that commanding presence that you look for in a leading actor, and definitely pulled it off. So he will be greatly missed. I am a fan of what he has done. I will certainly be watching Black Panther again soon. I have not watched it since I found out that he passed, because my life is insanely busy, but it will be on my list of things to do. In fact, we're still slowly marching through the MCU in order. We're in no rush, because you know, Black Widow's not coming out now until November.
Yeah, we'll see.
Although, have they do they have a release date? They have not announced an actual release date for I believe, Falcon and Winter Soldier, right?
No, I think everything else is pretty much just stuck right now.
Well, the movies they bumped everything
back one.
They bumped everything position. Like 6 months. Yeah, one position.
Right.
Except for what was the one that one got bumped by more than a position? Was that Black Panther 2? They got bumped by more than a position? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it
was. They said it was because Ryan Coogler didn't sign, but maybe it's because
you go ahead and be your. You can be the conspiracy guy. It's okay.
It's QAnon.
I'm staying out.
QAnon's going in a new direction. No more of the Save the Children. Oh, it's Save Black Panther. Save Black Panther.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I'm the jerk, everybody. That's why I'm the jerk.
I'm looking at it right now just to verify what you're saying, and you know, I'm scrolling and scrolling.
No worries.
No, Black Panther sequel is the only release date that stayed exactly the same among the mix-ups, so it did not move. It looks like Captain Marvel 2 was the one that bumped back.
Gotcha.
So
okay.
And then, I mean, we all know Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Who knows when that's coming out? So,
well, and certainly James Gunn's satellite's rising again, because Suicide Squad 2 looks fantastic.
Looks like a hell of a movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. And
we didn't even talk about that stuff.
Oh,
I mean, we would have talked about the Batman trailer.
I don't
Holy
care
cow!
About that.
Ew. I can't even with you right now.
Come on. I
can't even.
I don't care about Batman anymore.
All right. Well, that is it. That is tonight's episode of The Gentleman and the Jerk. And thank you very much for watching. I'm going to leave you guys with, I'm going to leave you right here with the image of Black Panther himself in costume. Mark, you have yourself a good week. We will see each other next Sunday on another episode.
See you next Sunday.
The Gentleman and the Jerk. Everybody,
season finale.
yeah, season 1 finale because of some scheduling conflicts in September. Is that next week would be the last one, right?
Yep. We'll make it a good one. I promise.
All right. Well, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. We'll see you next Sunday. And we're off.